What is going on, internet? It is the North End, and it's Sunday, which means it's the Sunday roast. Let's go.
This is the North End. This is the North End.
Guys, it's the Sunday roast, a long-standing 2-week show of the North End podcast / YouTube channel. With me, as sometimes, not always, can't see that, can't guarantee that, is Brian Ireland, who is fresh from a birthday. Happy birthday, Brian Ireland.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. I'm now 50. It's not easy, but it is what it is.
How are you feeling?
It's 2 days post it, so I feel
sorry,
feel
Brian.
better.
My fault, Brian. How are you feeling? I'll make it louder.
Yeah, no, it's I'm good, brother. It's a bit strange, but
God, Brian,
it was a fun night on Friday. I'm off.
I don't know what's going on with you, but yeah, you're just like, yes, 50. You can see it. You're contemplating it.
Like I'm not like my video stopped
Azaz,
working.
is it just me, or is there like a 2-second delay?
There's a delay. There's a little delay. I don't think
and it's not a technical delay. It's like he is processing thoughts, and there's a 2-second like lag time.
I don't know what's going on. Why don't you ask Azaz how he's doing, and we'll see if I line up again. But
yeah.
Did you have a good birthday on Friday? I'm sorry I didn't make it out.
I had a great birthday. It was Luke was the only one of you lot who showed up, and we had a good time. So.
There's no excuse.
You live around the corner. You have no excuse, Paul.
I will say that Luke and I coordinated going, and it was my idea to go. I was like, we should do it, whatever. And I was so hungover from a work event the night before, and I was waiting for my wife to fly in, that as I was waiting for her to get there, any energy I had to leave the house was gone.
That's fair.
So
I'm not going to
story, not an excuse. Just that's my story. But I was thinking about
not an excuse. It is. What
I
it is.
had
it's
every
fun.
intention of going. So much to the point that you know this. The reason why Luke was there was because somebody was pushing him out the door. He doesn't coordinate.
100%.
Yeah. So there it is. Azaz, what's going on with you, buddy?
Good, mate. Good. I wasn't there on Friday because I had my whole family staying with me for 3 weeks, and they left on the 11:50 Air Transat on Friday. So was never going to happen. And then when my alarm went off at 5:45 to go to Elephant and Castle to watch the Liverpool pub, I was like, what the F is going on in my life? But you know what? I've done nothing else but other than watch football all weekend. So I'm actually primed and ready to talk about the show. Excited to be back and very, very excited for the new season.
I love that the new season started. And the new season started on Friday, which was a weird one. I played on Friday and you guys didn't. And that was weird for me because it was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm a fan of one game not immediately followed by 4 or 5 other ones I could watch in the same day. But let's get into it. It started Friday. We can go through all the games. We haven't played all the games. The pain point of being a Sunday roast show when we get together like this is we won't always talk about all the games that happen. There will be Monday games, I'm sure. Tuesday games.
We can also preview those Monday games too if we want to talk about it a little bit before it happens.
Sure.
There's other things we can do, but yeah.
Sure can. So season kicks off. Man United hosts Fulham. You know what? What can you I know everybody wants to get into like this whole like analysis of Man United and Erik ten Hag and like, is it working? Is it not working? All this shit. I'm like, for me, this is a really straightforward 1-0 win. It felt like the better team at home won. I don't think there's any huge takeaways of what the future holds for Man United or the season holds for Man United. As a Man United fan, I could say I like what I saw most of the time. Some things I didn't like. The stuff I didn't like is the stuff I know is getting worked on anyways, and just have to be a bit patient. But what did you guys think of the Monday kickoff, Man United versus Fulham?
It was a Friday kickoff, but yeah, it was. Agreed that the Friday one's a bit weird, but I managed to get to a pub. It was on my birthday and watch the game. I would say the same as you, man. There's not a lot to get out of this game from where the teams are at perspective. I think you get that a lot with the first 2-3 games of the season because a lot of the teams haven't finished their transfer window yet. They're still trying to gel with some of the players that have come in. So you're kind of, you're not really seeing what you're going to see 3-4 weeks in once they've had a few games to sort of ramp into the season. And once everybody's kind of settled that they're staying with the club or they've moved on, whatever the case may be. So I would agree. I think Man United played pretty good for at home. I thought that some moments were a little bit like you saw last year, but again, I think you'd expect that. And I thought Fulham were okay considering some of the players they lost.
Yeah, I actually people talked a lot about Man United, but I thought considering Paulinho,
Paulinho,
Paulinho was such an important player at the base as the sole pivot for Fulham. Seeing as he's gone, I thought they held together quite well. I thought I like what Fulham is as a team. I like the way they play. I like the way they're organized.
Yeah,
I like
Silva's got a good system, right? Like he plays good football. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, so I was impressed. I hope they do well. It's not. I would like Fulham to stay up for a while. I like what they've built or they're building right now. Zaz, what did you think of the game?
You would have seen some of my thoughts in the chat. I feel
I will
like
point this out. Your thoughts come immediately. Like 20 minutes into the game, you're like,
He didn't wait
Man
till the whole
United
game
shit.
was done. He was getting.
Man
it was
United
40.
shit. I'm like,
It was
it's
40. It was 40 minutes
the
into the
first
game.
half.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. I feel like there's a direct comparison with Liverpool, for example, because we were terrible for about 20-25 minutes, but it's Arne Slot's first game. If in the third season, if he lasts that long, I think he will, but I'm just being allowing for in case something goes really bad. But if that was the third season of Arne Slot and that was the first 40 minutes at home to a mid to bottom table team, I would genuinely be like, what is this shit, to be honest with you? Like, it's not necessarily just a Man U thing. We don't need to get too deep into it because I think anyone who watches the show, or at least you guys know, I think he's a terrible manager. So it is what it is.
But you will never actually. This is the thing with you. You will never be open to him being not terrible. Like,
No,
he
I
can win
will.
trophies and do well.
I will.
I honestly think you're so bedded into him being terrible that you made this conclusion like halfway through his first season. You're just like, he's shit. And then last
I
season
don't
was like
see
candy
what
for
they're
you because
doing.
you're like, I told you he was shit.
But I feel you're the opposite, mate. I feel
Here
there's
comes
like
the banter,
literally
love
like
it.
red flags there's like red flags in your face and you just won't see it. Like
you never hear me when I say this. I don't like Eric Ten Hag because I haven't seen enough of him. All I know is last season was a wash for reasons I don't expect any manager to manage around. I also have said this many times. The situation he walked into was a shit show. Like, he walked into a shit show. So I also don't expect any manager to do that well. And
Definitely.
I thought
Yeah.
in this game, if you're going to watch the first 40 minutes of this game, I thought they played okay. Like, not lighting the fucking world on fire, but also like not 40 minutes in posting, oh, he's shit. Oh.
If you are someone who's had those first 2 years, obviously he won trophy, so he did better than Arsenal. But if he has those 2 years and then he's going into the summer and there's a question about will he keep his job, won't he keep his job, and that's the first performance. I'm not talking about the result. I said on Friday, United slightly edged it 1-0, kind of, because I think it was Dave, I don't think it was you, who was like domination. Like, that's not a domination game. That was like Man U deserved the 1-0 win, like 1-0 win.
I think that's what Paul said, though, is as I think that, do you not agree with kind of what I said, though? The first few games of the season are hard to tell.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I might be being harsh.
If they have that performance like 3 or 4 games in and they're still doing that, then I would start to be concerned. But I also agree with you that I don't think
I also don't know doing what, though. They had that game could have been 3-0 pretty easily with a couple of fairly simple chances. They dominated possession. They pressed really well. They did all the things you need to have for statistics. Was it flashy? No. Did they have a striker? No. Were they playing guys out of position? Yes. But I still don't know what the expectation is like yet. I'm like, it's game one. Anyway,
55.
My point being, you were very quick to talk shit about the manager right away. And they're just like, this shit is blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. All right. Last year's agenda is carrying over to this season. That's great. Azaz has got an agenda. That's
I mean, he's consistent at least, right?
Yeah.
Now, I was tweeting
Man
20 minutes. I was 20 minutes into Ipswich versus Liverpool, and I was calling your Dutch a piece of shit manager to the world.
Well, let's get into that.
My
That's
agenda.
next game,
That's
right?
my agenda.
That's the next game on the list. What did you think of it? Zaz, you weren't happy with the start, obviously. I watched the game. I thought Liverpool were kind of, and I thought Ipswich actually looked pretty good. They created a lot against the Liverpool side that I thought defensively didn't look very comfortable for much of the game, but then eventually sort of came into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely it was like a game of 3/3 in a way. By the 90 minutes, I think 2-0 is a very, very like good result for Ipswich, to be honest with you, because the chances we were missing at the end, Jota had a header, like there was all these like chances. But going back to like the night before, like I don't find 55% dominating possession, to be honest with you. Like, especially if you're the home team, like I don't think that's dominating possession. We ended up on
back
60.
to my game?
Yeah, we
no,
moved-
I'm just
we
saying, no. I'm saying 60. I'm saying 60. I'm saying so 60. We had 63% possession away.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's not a bad first game. He's also the first manager since Graham Souness who joined after Hillsborough, so 91. First Liverpool manager to win a league game. His first league game in 30 years. I can't do my math right now. That's like 30 something years. The first Liverpool manager. So that's like Klopp, Benitez, Dalglish 2.0, Gerard Houllier, like all these Liverpool managers who didn't win their first game. I'll take it. But I thought we were awesome in the second half, to be honest with you. Like, I thought we were sketchy as hell in the first half. Last season, we would have gone 1-0 down. Last season, we 100% would be 1-0 down, maybe even 2. Like, some of those, like, shaky moments were so bad. But I don't think that they can suddenly learn that, like, play out of defense system without actually playing in the league. So we got 2 fixtures that went our way. We had Ipswich away, which I don't mean to be disrespectful to them, but like they are still a promoted team, so I'll take it. And then next week we've got Brentford at home. So then we play United. So like if we were trying that shit against United or against any of the bigger teams with players that can hurt you, I think we would have been 1-0 down, 2-0 down, and then you're up against it. We didn't play the game the way it should have been played because I feel like Ipswich coming up after 20-something years at home, they've got all the eyes on them. Like they were always going to start so well. So like, why did we have to put ourselves through it? But if we're going to play most of the games the way we were from like 35, 40 minutes onwards, we'll have a good season. I don't think we can win the league on that kind of form because we will go 1-0, 2-0 down, especially away from home. But that attack is ridiculous. You know, like it's just going to come down to like
finishing really. Like Jota should have, he should have put a couple away before he finally did score. So
100%. Can we keep clean sheets? Yeah.
Little unkind. Yeah. Again, it's like first game of the season. Like you're on the road. It's an emotional stadium. They just got promoted. Ed Sheeran, minority stakeholder, leaves at halftime. All of a sudden they suck. I think it's all him because he left. But like that's an easy day at the office for your team. Like there's not really much to say. Like they had an XG of like 0.35 or something, and yours was closer to 4. Like it was a dominant day against a newly promoted club. Again, can you learn something about the way he wants to play out of the back? Maybe, but also that could have just been the players like knocking off rust as well. There's so many factors to this. Like, what can you really do?
Quick question for you, since we didn't really get a chance to chat with you about it. From your preseason, were you guys doing that? Was the insistence playing out the back with Slot? Is that kind of what he's doing? So you kind of saw that in some of the preseason games. So you're expecting that to kind of be the case from moving forward?
Yeah. So style of play has shifted. We play the 2 deep midfielders now. One of them will be taking the ball off the centre backs, or Allison can find them as well. They'll both probably be ball playing. Like I don't think we're going to have a destroyer. So anyone who's looking for like a Palinia or some, I know he's gone. I mean like that profile of player, like we're not going to sign him or them. The other day Gravenberch played the other day. Like it feels so long ago because it was 7:30 on Saturday. So Gravenberch played there with McAllister. McAllister's played 6 before. Gravenberch, not really. Like he's played a few matches there. And yeah, the whole point is the defense passes the ball into midfield and we move it up quickly. So yeah, that's exactly how we play.
There isn't really a 6.
The system
when you
is
have a double
4-2-3-1?
pivot, it's not really a 6 anymore. It's like a 6/7/8 almost, because you have to take turns being that last.
It's like two eights. It's
last
like
guy
two
back.
eights switching between
Two eights
who
who have to be
sits and
defensively
who sits and who
responsible.
moves, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, it's weird, but they're not pure 6s, and it's like
Yeah, it's a
a
4-2-3-1. It's kind of like what Poch used to play at Spurs. It
Yeah.
looks similar when I
Yeah.
watched it. I'm like, oh, I know that system, and it works really well for the players you have, I think, as well, especially that front four.
Yeah,
Let's talk
I
about
wasn't-
Mo Salah. Mo Salah is still the shit, though. Let's talk about him. I mean,
Yeah,
fuck. Oof.
Yeah.
There's
You know,
still
goal
that,
and
I get
assist.
jealous of this because anytime it's not really clicking for you, the move is like, we'll just get the ball to Salah. And I'm not saying that diminishly, like he's a superstar. That's what he's meant to.
Of
I don't have
course.
Kane. I don't have Kane to make myself feel
of
better
why
about it
he's
anymore
so
either.
good. But like sometimes you can just be like, you know what, something's just going to happen, and Mo Salah is going to be on the end of this, and he's going to do it once or twice a game and just chew up like newly promoted Ipswich as a result. I thought he looked majestic with the new hair. I think he looked a little bit like
suits him better without it.
last season. It felt like he was
looks a little more
passing
mean,
more.
you know.
He was a little bit more like I don't know. It just felt like he was more of a creator. This time he feels a little bit more like that healthy selfish that you get from him, which I think is dangerous for anybody.
Yeah, it's like confident, selfish. Like he knows he's going to finish and he doesn't care. That's dangerous.
But I thought, on a whole, guys look good.
Goal and assist. He keeps doing it. I think if we can keep Jota fit, that'd be really good as well. Anytime someone like Nunes is on the bench to come on, then if Nunes is a substitute, you're stacked. I know he's got a lot to prove as a starter, but if he's a sub, if he's a sub coming on to like change a game, then you're doing well. And then we also had Gakpo come on for I don't know if he came on for Diaz, but he came on to the left. No, he came on for Jota, but played on the left. Like it's. Yeah, up in attack, I'm not as concerned, although we can be wasteful to Brian's point. But for me, it's going to rest on the defense and see if that number 6 thing clicks.
What's the Darwin Núñez situation like? Is he going to be cool with this? Because the way I saw it, Jota looks like he's going to be comfortable and he's going to be there for a while leading the line.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know in this day and age if everybody's cool with being like the sit back, because it's his third year and new manager and he's starting off with less trust than he had before. Is he going to be cool, or is he going to kick up some smoke?
I love them both. So from my perspective, they can't both play all the time. I think with the extra Champions League games and everything, I think Núñez will get his chance, but he was really bad at the end of last season. So he had a decent season last year, but like if the season ended in March, he would have had a good season. But in March and April, when the trophies are given out, he kind of went missing, and Jota was injured anyway. So I don't know if Núñez starts the season as the guy with the shirt, but like I'm open to just seeing what combos we want to play up there. And apparently Slot's like just letting everyone do their thing and like wanting to watch. And if Jota's doing something in training that makes him ahead of Núñez, then more power to it. I'm the only one that has to play out the 3 out of the 5 of them is Salah. Otherwise, Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, and Núñez. It's great options.
It's not a bad rotation, for
you
sure.
are stacked. Okay, we're moving over to JP. What's up, buddy? We're moving over to Arsenal hosting Wolves. 2-goal thriller. Saka and Kai Havertz doing their thing. I mean, Arsenal look good. I've seen them look better, but I thought they looked really good. I think their defense looks amazing. That new boy that didn't really get a chance to show themselves last season, who I'm a big fan of, Timber, came on.
Timber.
I think he adds something to that team. I think everything they brought in this summer and the summer before, they were looking really good. Who knows if that means what they're going to be against a Man City in a title race, but I thought on the day, straight to business. They look killer to me. What did you guys think of this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to watch the whole game. I watched the highlights just because of the time it was on and what I was doing. But the highlight reel that I watched, solid, looked like they looked last season. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in that same conversation. Whether they get the job done or not is the question, and we kind of know where that's likely going to go. But they've improved, and let's talk about Wolves a little bit. Wolves have lost some key players as well, and I thought that they still looked okay considering that, but they were definitely missing a little bit of that clinical edge up top.
Azaz,
Yeah,
what
I
did you
mean,
think of
from
Arsenal?
yeah, yeah, I thought they looked really good. I wasn't expecting anything else, to be honest. Like I expected it to be a comfortable win. So, from what I saw, I didn't see the whole game, but from what I saw in the highlights, it felt like a pretty routine home win, first game of the season. Yeah, they'll be there or thereabouts. They can win the league. I said that last year. Like I said, they can win the league, whether they will or not. Like, there's got to be questions that they have to answer later in the season, but like they're going to put themselves in the position again by winning routine games like this. So no surprises. It's not even I have to say that I was impressed or not impressed, because it's actually praise for them to say like it's a routine win for them at home these days.
Sure. So this is going to bring us to what I'm going to call the what the fuck moment of the week. A very strange moment happened when Gabriel Jesus bent over to tie his shoelaces, and one of the Wolves players decided that that was an invitation for proctal examination, and that sticking his finger up his ass was the appropriate thing to do at the time. Wildly, Gabriel Jesus, who did not give consent, got up and shoved the Wolves player to the ground and got a yellow for it. Have you guys ever seen anything like this? This was wild to me, and I kept fucking watching it on repeat in disbelief about what happened.
Yeah, it was an odd one, man. I only saw like the replay on Twitter post the game. I didn't watch the highlights until after. But it's ridiculous. The Wolves guys obviously having a laugh there, but it's a little bit, a little bit sketch. Like
Mosquera, who I think is new to the Premier League, makes himself famous to the league day one.
I know, like it's a pretty ballsy.
You don't
thing
tie
to
your
do.
shoelaces around,
or maybe it's an asshole thing to do, depending on how you want to phrase it. But yeah, and obviously the fact that he got ended up getting a yellow card for the response is a bit strange to me too. I don't understand that, but
I know what this is.
I've seen this, but it's not like a yellow card. I don't know.
I have seen these things before. I've done these things before. It's knowing that you're about to do something fucking so unexpected that you're going to get the reaction that you're going to get, and you're going to get an advantage of it. And it's not done in this day and age because there's cameras everywhere, and it's fucking ridiculous, and it's fucking juvenile.
Yeah, it is one of those things on the Sunday in a Sunday league game when you're playing against a guy and you're going at each other, and you're just going to make him really uncomfortable, right? Like,
yeah. Like I know this guy's not going to like it if I do this to him. He's going to react, and I'm going to get a yellow for it. It's worth it. But this was wild. This was a complete, and this is our what the fuck moment of the week. Moving on to the next game, Everton gets smashed by Brighton in what could have been 4-0 by the end of this one. This was painful to watch. Ironically, I thought Everton played fairly well, but the goals that Brighton were scoring, largely off the wings, they looked... It's hard. Brighton have never been clinical, and they usually dominate in possession and dominate control of the game. In this game, it felt like they didn't have that, but they did look clinical. So now I don't know what to think of either team. I do think Everton probably have to start the season and question what they've done this summer and maybe make some moves before the window closes. But this game could have been 4 or 5-0.
Yeah, it was a weird one. Brighton did look really good from a finishing perspective. Everton, I thought, looked okay as well, except for the defensive moments where they sort of were easy to get in behind and kind of were sloppy in their own box. But Brighton is a team that has some really, really good players on their team. Obviously, Minoma, is that how you say it? Mitoma. Sorry, thank you. The left winger. Yeah. He's been brilliant for them, and he's looks like he's gonna continue to be incredibly dangerous off that side. So I think Brighton are in a good place. What's up?
Danny Welbeck with a goal and assist.
Great finish as well from him too. Just slots it in the side netting. Really, really nice. I think Brighton it's one of those teams like you just don't know what you're going to get with them. They're so Jekyll and Hyde every season. I mean, they come in looking like they're supposed to be good, and then they have weird games where they just don't look like at all like they have anything. And then
I don't know what they're going to be because without Gross, they lost Paul Gross in the summer, and he's been so bedrock to the way they play. I think that's where I was kind of looking like, what will they be? And it felt like they were different. It didn't feel like
it did feel different for sure
of the past. But again, you're playing against Everton. They were kind of shit. I think I noticed that. I don't know if if this is a thing or if it's not going to be a thing, but this game had something like 8 minutes of extra time. And then in the extra time, there was a review of a goal. So even more extra time. I think by the end of it, it was like 11 or 12 minutes and it was 3-0. I hate it because the team that is Everton, the home team,
They just
their
want it to
fans-
end.
their fans start leaving at the 80th minute.
Yeah.
And then you like, even if you wanted to go, you have to kind of like go with the flow of the traffic of people walking out. But by the end of the game, there was nobody in the stands for like the last 2 minutes of this game because they all had enough time to get up and leave, except for the Brighton traveling fans, which, you know, they're not going to be on TV. So the way you watch it on TV, it just looks, it's like an empty stadium. It's sad. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
It's an odd one. It's kind of one of those things, like from a ruling perspective, you'd think if a team is up by 3 goals or more, or even 2 goals or more, and there's like a certain amount of time left, that you just kind of blow the whistle a little early and be like, just end the pain for everybody. But I guess that, you know, it's not in all fairness at that point. But yeah, you think it'd be just like I think that's the case in sort of Sunday League stuff. We see that kind of situation because it's Sunday League and nobody cares and nobody's paying for it. But it does seem like in that case, 3-0 up, Everton weren't gonna come back and score any goals.
It's also the Premier League. Somebody can come back in the past, like in the last 4 minutes of
maybe, but 3 goals. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you got to play it out, but it just I'm with you. It was a bit painful.
It was terrible. Zaz, I'm going to keep it moving unless you got something to say about this one, buddy.
Just going to say one thing, that the Brighton coach is 31 years old. We can't not talk about that. Like, that is like,
it's impressive,
legitimately impressive. Yeah. And he was born in America as well, just as a heads up.
American 31-year-old coaching in the Premier League.
Yeah.
It's a big risk for Brighton. You know, if they can play good football, they've got some good players in that team. So we'll see how he does.
Yeah. It feels like this moniker of best run club, all these amazing decisions they've made, et cetera, at some point,
it's running the course.
It also feels like every single time they're doing this, every year they're saying they're doing these things, it's getting to be like a watered down more and more version from where they started. And there just has to be a point where, like, even if these are good decisions and this guy's a good manager, the squad he's managing now is like James Milner and Welbeck. Like, it's watered down. Like, I don't know. I hope Brighton continue. I hope he is the next big thing, because it would just be a cool proof point for Brighton, but I suspect not. Yeah. Newcastle have a bit of a wild one. They go down a man early in what I'm going to call the dive of the week. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I did see it. It was embarrassing as hell. Like, what am I watching?
I think it was Armstrong for Southampton. I think the bottom from Blackburn or something in the championship. Two guys have a collision. Shara is down on the ground. The striker is over top of him and is clearly berating him, and nobody looks at the replay before the incident to like be aware this guy stood over him and was shouting down at him. So Shara gets up and is basically like, "What did you just say to me?" And then Shara does that thing that I don't know why football players do this. He leads into a conversation with his head and gives every WWE wrestler the opportunity to exaggerate content like nobody's business. And that's exactly what Armstrong does. He feels the smallest amount of skin on his forehead, and he goes flying backwards. The result is a red card in what is complete fabrication, but also Shar put himself in a position to allow this to happen. And I get torn on how I feel about these things. I don't like it, but it really kicked off the day. What did you guys think of this kind of embarrassing moment?
As you go first, brother.
I just think the Premier League at the moment has just got these like cartoon moments that I feel almost like to your WWE point, it almost feels like scripted or like planted for this stuff to happen so we can kind of talk about it. Right? It's so ridiculous. And yeah, to JP's point, shout out JP, hope you're doing well, my mate. I feel like anything that happens like this that gets caught should have a retroactive ban. And if they don't, it makes me feel like the Premier League people like this kind of stuff because it starts to get people talking about it. And I don't actually think that some of the refereeing decisions could also not be part of this thing where I'm not saying that they sit down at a strategy meeting and they're like, how do we hack news columns and clickbait and stuff? But they also don't seem to want to cure this kind of stuff, because if they did want
It's
to,
not getting
they could
fixed,
just
is it?
it's
Yeah.
not getting fixed. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's the whole point. Even today, like I know we were on our chat talking about some of the decisions today, and like whether you agree or disagree with some of the decisions being made, there's still there's almost like a cartoony WWE element to it. It's like, oh, which way is he going to give that decision, when some of them are so binary? So yeah, I kind of feel like that's how I would classify this incident. It's just and the same thing with the last one, the same thing with that Arsenal
Finger in the butt.
yeah, I think it's just like, yeah, where do these like grown ass men, professional people come out with some of this stuff?
I do think that they're not necessarily grown ass men, and that's part of the problem. There are a lot of these kids who've kind of come through academy, sheltered lives. They don't really learn a lot about those types of things. But odd reaction, but we've seen it a million times. This is not new in football. It happens in every league. But yeah, it is a bit pantomime. It is a bit like sort of clownish in the Premier League because it's so amplified compared
I think
to other
JP's
leagues,
onto
and
something.
we see so much of it.
I think after the fact, with the benefit of seeing it on TV many times, retroactive punishment should be dished out. And I think any official who sees this and thinks it's a real moment is not a real official.
Yeah, it's hard to take him seriously. Exactly, and a retroactive, some like a game punishment, something like aggressive, so that they don't go and try to do it every time, or if they do,
the guy's name is Diaz. I got the name
their
wrong.
team, like
it was Diaz. So Diaz should be approached and being like, "We all know what you did. It got a red card. Your team had an advantage, but you got to be punished for what you did, because what you did was lie." So we're gonna punish you.
You cheated and you got away with it. And fortunately for Newcastle, they went on to win, which was surprising considering being down a man for that long. It was a long.
They had an XG of like 0.32 or something, and Southampton had an XG of 2. So on a different day, ironically, if Diaz and the rest of Southampton could finish with the opportunities they had,
they did have some big chances that they didn't put away.
I think Julian Lescott scored the winner for Newcastle, and it was, I think, just a kind of game where Newcastle probably didn't expect it to.
Julian Lescott?
No, it's not Lescott. It's what's his name? The guy that our friend hates.
Wilson, right? Was it?
No, it wasn't him. It was the dude that cost a fortune.
Joe Linton.
Linton.
Yeah.
It's close. It's JL.
Close. Who is, again, a shocking turn of events, how good that player became for Newcastle over the last couple of seasons. Just a wild one, though. Like, I don't think this is a game Newcastle fans would have wanted to pay the ticket to see. I think they were expecting a bit more of a smash because Southampton are a promoted team, but they do hold on, and that is what it's all about. And they got the 3 points. Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth in a game that was marked by a pretty gruesome broken leg. And I'll be honest, I heard about the broken leg and I did not watch the game specifically because I didn't want to chance it and I didn't want to see it. And I ignored everything about this game I could, but it ended up a 1-1 draw.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton to see. The goals were okay. I watched the highlights, so I didn't have to watch it because they never show broken legs or broken bones in highlights unless it's just that highlight reel. So they managed to not include it in the reel. And it was what you'd expect, just a 1-1 against a couple of mid to lower table teams that are going to be fighting for their lives this season.
Because Bournemouth,
yeah, I only watched the highlights too, so I managed to avoid.
Tottenham stole their striker and they're toothless now. You just ruined them. You ruined them, Brian. West Ham against Aston Villa. Aston Villa win 2-1 in a game that I thought could have gone either way. Certainly the XG doesn't tell the whole story because I think there's something off about the XG because it doesn't really seem to account for the fact that I think Aston Villa hit their post like 3 times. This was
it doesn't count as shot on goal, unfortunately.
Yeah, this was a good game. I mean, Aston Villa, I expected to win this game. They are the better team. But this was their first chance really seeing the new look West Ham. And I think they're cooking something over there. I think they've got some players that they haven't had in the past that are a little bit more silky, a little bit more skillful. I said it to JP and I said it to Luke. I thought this game probably deserved a tie. There was a very late opportunity that was skied over the crossbar.
Should have scored on that. Yeah, I agree.
But on balance, also, just the way the entire game went, I kind of thought a tie might be a fair result, but Aston Villa get it done on the road in a game where even if you're West Ham, I feel like they could probably hold their head up high about the game and feel like, a lot of good signs to come. I thought Somerville, who came off the bench, their new signing from Leeds, looked sharp. I expect him to be very sharp. Kudo, I never know how to say his name.
Kudos.
Oh my God, he's going to be, I think this is going to be one of the seasons where like he becomes, I want to say a household name, but I think he becomes like more of an elite established Premier League player because you can kind of tell it's easy for him now. He's not really trying that hard anymore, and he's taking over moments of the game by himself. So promising signs for West Ham is what I'd say.
I don't really have much to add to that. I thought that it was pretty even as well. Villa slightly better, but I agree that West Ham do look the part a little bit. Like they look a little bit more attacking, a little bit more free flowing than what we're used to seeing them as. And some of those new players that came in are gonna do them well for sure.
They've had a busy window.
They have had the busiest window, I think. Is that?
Yeah, I think West Ham under like new coaching, the new players that they bought, they've also had a bit of a busy window, and I feel like this whole thing about the West Ham way, and they've just had a successful run under Moyes, but half the time, if you were listening to phone-ins and stuff, the fans still weren't happy. So they got to be careful what they wish for. And having said that, yeah, some of those players that we mentioned, like the Kudos, I've like family back home in the UK who are big Leeds fans who was waxing lyrical about Somerville in the championship. So if he can make that step up, he's going to be an asset for them as well. And then obviously they kept hold of Bowen and stuff. So West Ham will do some damage this season. So a 2-1 away win at home away in the first game of the season it's a big result, and I can understand why our two resident Villa boys were very happy, and I just expect Villa to kick on. The only thing for me for Villa is as Newcastle found out last year, like we don't even need to analyze Villa until we can see how they can hang with that, because this ain't the Europa or the Europa Conference League anymore.
It's not the Conference League. It's a completely different situation. Yeah, your best team week game in and game out in order to progress. So we'll see how they fare. But yeah, they look good, and so did West Ham.
I'm still kind of surprised Somerville wasn't like more in demand. Like what he did last season of the championship, the numbers he put up were insane. And the idea that he's a championship player and he's not proven the Premier League, like he debuted for Leeds in the Premier League and he was doing shit in a very short period of time since he like debuted at Premier League level that were fucking amazing. Like, I don't know what it takes to be the hot commodity 18 or 19-year-old, but I don't know why he wasn't more of an in-demand player. I think it's because he's probably very slight and people are worried about his size, but I still think you put that little Dutch kid on any team in Spain or Italy and he's going to tear them up because he's just so good. Their loss, our game, Premier League wins. We always do. We're going to move on to Sunday. Brentford battling out with Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace on the road, drop points to Brentford. Brentford without Ivy Toney, who the manager says is distracted from the sound of it because other teams want to buy him. And he's got his eye turned. And even without I don't even say their top scorer because he's not anymore. He lost that.
He wasn't last season. It was the fellow who scored. What's his name?
They
scored the first goal.
Mbeumo. They do fine.
Mbeumo scored it. Yeah. No, I'd have to look. Wayusa or whatever.
Mbeumo and Wisa both scored.
Yeah, they both scored.
Yeah,
they did the celebration, right? Like as if they were like one of those like York and Cole or one of those old school partnerships, Shearer and Sutton and everything. So yeah, they both scored.
Class. I don't know. This is a weird one. I think Brentford at home are a dangerous creature. Crystal Palace are probably the team I thought would have improved or like been the better team, mostly on the face of how they started playing last season.
Well, the way they finished it as well, like 6 games in a row they won.
Yeah, they were hot. They've lost Olise and their new players are betting in. But I was a bit surprised by the way it played out. It was a good game. It was very
back and forth. Yeah.
Fun watch. The one thing that was very disappointing is that Eze scored a fucking screamer of a
free kick
from a mile out, and for what I thought was a very soft contact in the box reason, it was.
But you realize
off.
that the problem with it was, and the reason why it didn't count was that he blew his whistle before the ball went in the net. So the contact happened and he blew his whistle, and and then the ball goes in. So he can't, like, even just by looking at the replay, even if he agrees that it didn't matter, it's not going to count. So, but I agree, it was
bad
a
bad
great
officiating.
shot. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad officiating. He should have let the ball go and then blow the whistle, and then, like, they do it with the offsides. Why can't they do it with a free kick? Right.
That was a bummer because
I think
Eze is
but a
going to
good
have
game.
It's
Very much a back and forth fun game to watch. That was one I got to watch the whole thing of today, as well as the afternoon one as well.
Those are the kind of games the Premier League just gives you as a gift as a fan of the league, and where you don't really care what the outcome is. You're not rooting for one team or the other. You just hope it's an entertaining day or
watch all the
game.
moments, Yeah.
And it had all of them. And again, real testament to the league that, like, Brentford and Crystal Palace both have a lot of players that do magical things that are like elite, technical, skillful things. And I don't know. I just love the Premier League.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable game. I had fun watching it. Zaz, what was your thoughts, man? Did you get to watch it today?
No, I didn't. I was trying to watch it, but at the same time, I feel like, some of the earlier games on Saturday just kind of, like, not burnt me out, but I was a little bit like, you know what, I need a little bit of a break. I will be watching you boys tomorrow, though.
Yeah, where are you gonna watch it from? You want to join me? I'm going to the Dunright to watch it. So,
is that the new Tottenham pub?
No, the Scotland Yard's the Tottenham pub. It's the one I go to. It's the West End Tottenham pub.
It's Brian's pub.
Okay,
no,
maybe.
It's a Spurs pub. Sean, one of the guys who runs it, is a Spurs fan. There's flags and scarves everywhere, and we shows every game, and it's fun.
Which means it's John and Brian.
No, it's actually usually about 15 or 20 of us, but Paul's making jokes for whatever reason. Man United are everywhere, but whatever.
No, I mean, honestly, I've been by when there's games. It just never feels like it's like that. I like the Dunright. Listen, Sean's a gem. We know his son. I played.
We've had the place packed on a number of occasions.
I've been there packed when it's like a busy, like actual, like an eventful game. But I just didn't think it would be. Oh, I guess Monday afternoon.
First game of the season on a Monday at 3:00. People take work off and show up for sure.
Sure.
I already talked to a bunch of people who are going. So, the Scotland Yard's gonna be good. And we can talk about it after. We got one more game to talk about. Still, we can talk about the Spurs game tomorrow.
Let's get to the next game. But before we do, let's get into what I'm going to call the banter of the week, because this was the battle of 115 players versus 115 charges. It was, of course, Chelsea versus Manchester City in a game that I think polarized commentary a little bit. I, for one, thought Chelsea played fairly well. It's just fucking Man City, and they're gonna do what they do. I really think that if Chelsea had any kind of ability to put the ball in that striker position, this game was Chelsea's to take it.
It's
felt
really
that
their final
strongly.
third. They haven't changed much the way they finished last season. They looked like they played very similar football as well. The system didn't change too much. It looks like he's kind of taking on what Pochettino had left to some extent. They had a lot of the ball. The possession was pretty even by the end of the game. But Chelsea had more possession in the first half, and then Man City regained the possession stats, but they just can't score. Like, the final third, they're just kind of useless there. And that's exactly what they did all season last year. Like, even through the times that they were crap, they still created a lot. They had the most chances created of most chances Chelsea have created, I think, in years. So it was surprising that they can't put the ball in the net. But I guess it's not when you got Jackson leading the line. So yeah, it was
ball in the net and stay on side.
Stay on side. That's the other thing
terrible.
as well. Yeah, it's just like schoolboy error stuff. Like, where if you're a pro, you shouldn't be doing it. Man City did Man City things. De Bruyne still looks like De Bruyne. Like, he was class. He played a good game and was fun to watch. But they just Man City look like they know what they're doing when they're trying to finish, and Chelsea don't.
Yeah. So firstly, the graphic.
I guess we'll have to say and Holland.
Well, he's part of Man City, so we'll give him that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm going to call him. It's not correcting you. I'm also expunging on that fact and saying and Holland.
Well, when you have him in your team, yeah, you're going to get a goal for sure.
Like, Jesus, he looks like he's kind of going to be a robot again. Bang one in on average.
Great footwork from that goal too. Like, a little more than a robot. He looked a little bit slick. I was like, whoa, he just did that with no space, flicked it over the keeper. I mean, that was a nice finish.
He's a robot to goal scorer.
So the original graphic that you used, that the meme that you used, they actually said Sunday roast behind it. I saw the original one on Twitter. So pretty so right behind there on the other chalkboard, it actually says Sunday roast. So kind of funny that we're using it on
that is good,
on
actually,
today's
yeah.
thing.
Well,
we're
the one who made it.
There you go. Yeah, even though it was at 11:30 for us, but still we made it in local UK time. I thought Chelsea did okay. I kind of agree with Brian's point he made earlier in the day, which I can share with the people listening now, which is I don't know if you can play really well if you don't score or even like finish chances and stuff. Like I think
four
like
shots and one on target is not having a really good.
Yeah. But I think to our resident Chelsea's experts point, Chelsea are actually pretty good in between the two boxes. I know the two things that they're not good at are the hardest things, particularly the number 9 thing. I think what I have to call out is these number 9s aren't waiting there ready to like sign for Arsenal or sign for Chelsea. They just don't exist.
None of them around.
Like,
Where are
there's
they
no
all?
one. Yeah. So, and I don't know if that's never not been a thing, you know, like it's not like, you know, in the 90s when the first boom of the Premier League, like every team had a number 9. They didn't.
Team had
like
4. We had like Spurs in the early 2000s. We had like four proper strikers who could, you know, come on at any time, and we'd rotate through them. I mean, we played two up top, but with Redknapp. But I mean, it was just crazy the amount of forwards you have, and now it's like one is hard to come by. It's crazy.
Yeah. So there was a couple of moments. There was a Jackson one and an Enzo one, which I'm like, how are you not hitting the target at least? And they were both blocked, actually. You know, and
City had a number of blocks actually that were quite good. 4 or 5 of them, I would say, that stopped Chelsea's build-up play in the tracks, right at the top of the 18-yard box. They were sliding in front of everything.
Yeah.
They are,
but otherwise, City just
team.
doing
doing City things. Yeah. Annoying.
My only thing I will argue with is I think you can play very well against City and not get a lot of shots. I think you have to be mindful of who the opponent is and what we define.
Really though, is it really well? I think you can play good, but really good. I don't know. For me, really good, you need to get some shots on target, and
even then you may qualify it as being broken up into the thirds. Really well from the first phase, the second phase, and then garbage in the third phase.
But you could. But football is all 3. So you know.
But on a whole, if you're a Chelsea fan and you know you need a striker, you might feel optimism if you knew they were going to go and get somebody, because you'd be like, well. I mean,
sure. Optimism is one thing, but saying you were really good, I think, is just a bit diluted. I don't think it was really good. I think it was good. Good enough to look like they could create against a not as good a side.
And beat most teams. They can beat most teams, but you can't play like that against Man City and expect anything.
No,
it's not going to happen.
100%.
I don't think any of them were expecting anything. That's the other thing. It's just like, like as a Chelsea fan, if you
free
get
hit, right?
Like, okay, cool. We saw some new kids. Some of the debuts were great. Oh, fucking Neto came on and looked really good.
I was just waiting for him to get injured.
He's not. He's gonna be
Paul's favorite player is like dying to get him, but he went.
He's gonna be.
He went
a
to
mainstay
Chelsea
for Chelsea. He'll never get hurt again.
Yeah, he's gonna score 10 goals, 10 assists,
score 50 goals.
Play every single game. You know,
fucking Chelsea. Yeah. So that's the games that have happened. There is a game tomorrow. Spurs are playing. Brian, what's going to happen as
Spurs are playing Leicester?
The most information.
Spurs are playing Leicester away.
Newly promoted Leicester.
Leicester. Some news, some transfer news there. Oliver Skip looks like he's going to Leicester as well. Maybe signed on in time to play in their midfield with Winks, which would be Skip and Winks, which is our two of our players come through our academy. So congratulations to them. And to him in particular, Skip. I like Skip. His system doesn't work in our system, and he'll be good. He'll be good at Leicester. Leicester look a shambles. They were really bad. I think they lost their last 3 games in their preseason, so they haven't scored a goal in 3 games. And they played some teams they should arguably, especially in preseason, be getting goals against. So I think it's going to be a bit of a clattering. I think we're going to go there and smash them up pretty bad. minus the fact that Basum is injured. Not injured. He's suspended because he was inhaling nitrous balloons last Saturday. Idiot, and then posted it on Snapchat. And now he's not. Postacoglu's not going to play him. So thankfully, but what are you doing, dude? First game of the season coming in. That's what you're doing on a Saturday before. But yeah, I think it'll be a fun game for Spurs fans to watch. If I feel for Leicester, they're going to be under the cosh the entire game. We'll probably see Archie Gray play in that position, or Bentancur possibly, or both. They'll rotate them in the game. I think Archie Gray is going to play a lot more than people think he is. He's ready. And so same with Bergvall, also ready to play. So I think both those players you're gonna see a lot more than you think. Maybe not in the starting lineup tomorrow, but I think they'll both earn their places.
I'm looking forward to this one. I think that emotional bounce back into the league, first game home, gives Leicester that ability to maybe punch above their weight. So that it should be a game because of that. I don't think they have much of a chance to.
Their
beat
fans
Spurs.
are terrified at the moment, apparently.
Oh, really? Oof.
Yeah, they're really shitting themselves because of how bad the preseason.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the manager. I'm not feeling the manager. Like, I'm not sure if you go from a Pep disciple in Maresca to Steve Cooper. I just feel like it's a like, you know,
it's
one
like
of the
us going
moves
for
I
Nuno
thought,
when we eventually got Conte. Like, you know, that's,
exactly.
it's a filler. Like, that's all it is.
Yeah. Well, like, one appointment that I think is pretty good. Say what you want about his Premier League record, which was terrible. Not that Cooper's was much better, but like Burnley replaced Vincent Kompany with Scotty Parker, and
he's actually doing quite well.
Yeah, and you can I think Burnley are favourites to come up. You know, like they kept a core of their squad,
like 9 goals in their first 2 games or something like that. It's crazy.
But that's my whole point. His managerial philosophy is aligned to Vincent Kompany's, so you can kind of see the continuity. Whereas, like, I don't get this. Like, Leicester steamrolled the Championship last year. They played like their version of Championship Pep Maresca ball kind of thing. And then they go to Steve Cooper. Like, I feel like, didn't he have like 1 win in like 20 before he was dismissed from Forest?
Really poor so at the end of his career there. He did a really good job getting him to that position.
100%.
And that's his level, right? So it's a massive error for Leicester, and I think the players will struggle to try to enjoy their football.
I'm gonna pose some transfer questions just to end the show because there's some like breaking trending things. Branthwaite to Liverpool is trending right now.
Yeah,
that's really bullshit, right?
Yeah,
but that's
I don't
bullshit.
see it. Yeah.
Somebody's just having a mick with Everton fans, right? Like, that just feels like watch what happens when we put this out in the world.
Yeah. So we had the Diaz to Barcelona one Diaz to City one, my bad. Diaz to Barcelona has been going on all summer. We had Diaz to Man City for a hot minute last week, and then this week it's Branthwaite from Everton to Liverpool. No credible source connected to either club has even spoken about it. Where the story comes from is Sky slashed their odds because loads of people were betting on it. So it kind of feels like that's the long and short of it. But obviously in this news cycle and Twitterverse and everything, it takes off. I don't see it. I rate Branthwaite, but like, I wouldn't want to pay 60 million for him. So I kind of hope it doesn't happen. I don't think 60 million is worth the banter alone because Everton would be really salty. I just don't see any credibility in it at the moment whatsoever.
I feel like somebody's just having a mick, and I like that. I think it's entertaining. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys this. Ivan Toney, apparently a Saudi Arabian club, have, as reported by Fabrizio Romano, have put in a 35 million pound bid for Ivan Toney, and they've knocked that back. Isn't Ivan Toney worth like more? Why is nobody going after Ivan Toney? If there's a conversation that 35 turns into 40 or 45, which is, I think, a steal for a guy who can score 20 goals in a season.
I just think,
for the right team.
Paul, I just think the betting thing really is hurting his attitude from that, and also the way he has treated his own club with coming out and saying like, I want to go to a bigger club. The arrogance is not attractive for Premier League teams. They don't want to deal with that. And I think that's the reason why the price has gone down considerably and why people aren't diving in for him. It is like, arguably it's a hassle you're adding potentially. I agree. 20 goals is like, it's probably worth it, but I'm pretty sure that's why we went and got Solanke instead of him, was because of the quality of the attitude of the player over and above the quality of the player. And when it comes to scoring goals.
I know it has to be a thing people are mindful of, but like he never get. I mean, yes, the gambling thing is a bad thing, but you can always say that's like a mental illness thing as well. Like gambling is an addiction, but he gets back to Brentford, and the entire like team and the organization are at the doors waiting for him, and they all give him a round of applause for coming back. He is at a club where he is liked, even like so.
But he doesn't like being there, though, Paul. That's the other thing.
Usually, diva or prima donna, you're not well liked. Like the idea that like he would be disturbing in the dressing room or something like that. There's never been any indication that he's that kind of guy. He has said that he wants to go to a bigger club, but fuck, it's Brentford and he's scoring 20 goals. He should be going to a bigger club.
Yeah, I just think if when a player says it,
nice.
the arrogance in that is not attractive for some people.
Totally,
it's the only thing that makes any sense, unless there's something about his fitness right now that we don't know about. But
and I guess the other side of this is he had one really good goal scoring season, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean he came back and only put four in, and how many games? 15, 20 games. That's not a good return for a guy whose form was incredible the season prior. So it could be that too.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just feel like if he goes for 40 million,
you take him at United.
Yeah, for 40 million, yes. Fuck yes. Oh yes. Fuck yes.
I'm glad
the main guy is the only guy. No, but like as a 40 million, a guy we could have if he gets hot. Like, yeah, fuck.
Yeah,
yes.
Fair enough.
45. Scott McTominay gone. Him come in. Cool.
Is that how much McTominay's going for?
No, God, no.
No.
Okay. The way United's books are right now, if McTominay goes for 30, they can afford to probably spend 60. It's just as long as it's spread out, right? Like his sale, it's weird. The way it works is like if Brian buys a player off me for 30 on my books, I'm going to get 30 right away, even if the payment is spread out over a couple of seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But when the money is spent the other way, it's spread out.
Yeah.
Like, so if I bought a player off him, or if I use that money and I went and spent it somewhere else, it gets spread out. So it's almost like every sale you make is a bit of an injection that you could spread out for more than just that sale. Scott McTominay goes, I think by the way, that is the other rumor. Fulham is supposedly going to go back in for him, and he has agreed to personal terms with Napoli. So I think Napoli is a bit of a ruse to get him the move he probably wants, which is Fulham. And I would expect him to go, and then I would expect Scott McTominay goes, United sign 2 players before the window closes. Ugarte being probably the one that I guarantee comes in if he goes. But maybe Ivan Toney.
Yeah, what I was just going to say about Toney versus Solanke is a pretty interesting analysis because, like, they've definitely got a similar goal scoring record, similar profile player, but one's apparently like such a good dude, you know, like so good to get on with. That's what everyone used to say at Liverpool, like such a great person to have
really
around.
Really
good.
And Postecoglou is looking for that as well, like heavily. Personality is as important as skill set.
Yeah, and he's 26, and then Tony's 28. So the 2 years does make a difference. But then at 28, it's like when you bring the match fixing betting stuff into it, and then also he talked shit in England this summer as well. Like he was like, "Why are you bringing me on so late?" or something like that. Like.
He was like almost too many people come on.
That was it. That was it. That was it. Yeah, he almost didn't want to come on. Yeah, and. So I feel like that has to be playing against him a little bit.
100%.
And then the last thing is maybe his head's just been turned by the money. I don't know. I heard a really long interview with him on the Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. Like it's like a pretty prominent like business personal development podcast. And like he's really into creating generational wealth for his family, you know? So maybe he's actually told all the Premier League teams, like, you can't compete with what I'm going to get in Saudi, so leave it, you know? And then no one wants to embarrass themselves. And like, because they're trying want to bid for Tony, but he ends up going to Saudi Arabia. If he goes to Saudi Arabia, I do think there's a bit of it that will be that. I think it'll be a combination of everything we just spoke about. But I think one of the things will be like, if you're an Arsenal or a Man U or even a Liverpool, anyone, why are you going to want to compete with a Saudi club and then get faded? Like, that's the last thing you want to do. So I feel like if so I think
that Saudi club, if they get him for 40, I just have this in my head. The Saudi clubs usually pay over
60, 70
overvalue.
Right? That's cheap.
Of course.
I can see. I think he's definitely going to go. I can see a lot of clubs probably sitting back and waiting so that the number gets established by somebody else.
Did we also not notice
they
that
know exactly without negotiation and back and forth late in the window, they know that 40, 45 will do the job because somebody else got to that number and Brentford were going to accept it. And then they can come back and say, oh, 45, cool. Like,
didn't we notice too that the Saudi league this summer didn't have as much, they didn't take as many players away, that like, it seems like they're less involved in those big money transfers than they were the season prior. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but I didn't see goes to Saudi like we had previously, like some of the bigger players that had gone to Saudi.
I think they're quieter, and I think their transfer window is longer. But like Tammy Abraham, remember him? Tammy Abraham's supposed to be going to Saudi Arabia. He's
just he's not the profile of player they were trying to go for before. He's a little bit lower on the ring. You know what I mean? He a bit older. He's had some Premier League experience, but he's not like that, you know, the marquee player that they were trying to bring in when they were trying to make the league relevant. I
think there's enough guys now aware of what Saudi Arabia is and is not as a league.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure some of them are like,
yeah, I don't know about that.
There's no unknown now anymore. Like, I know it's shit. I see.
Yeah, Richarlison turned it down. Richarlison said, I'm not going to Saudi. I want to stay here and make my place. I have things I want to do for Brazil and for Spurs. So like, I mean, I think he's sort of like a good example of what a lot of players are doing when it comes to that potential. I think he was being offered 60, 65, and he said, no, I'm going to stay with Spurs. I'm happy where I am. And
my last, I want to throw this out there. What do you guys feel like about the Ben Chilwell situation at Chelsea, where he's basically spare parts and he's got to get moved on, and that's been like decided?
Isn't that the same with Sterling and the same with? I mean, there's a few players.
Sterling. I don't think they've come right out and said it, but there is a conversation. Like the manager has made comments. It's been pretty clear they're trying to move him on. Ben Chilwell is still a good left back.
Oh yeah, he's just not fit. When's he fit?
But
he's like, you know, he's the same as Neves. There's a few players like that. You can't rely on a player who plays 25, 30 games in a season when you play 60, 65. If you're in, you know, like you just can't rely on it. So unless you in that position,
15, let's say 15 million gets you him, and he's not the main guy. You don't need to rely on his fitness. You don't need
as a backup. Yeah, I would take him as a backup. We could use a backup at left back right now for Udogie. So he'd be perfect for that. Play 15, 20 minutes a game, give him a rest for sure, or play in cup games or Europe or something.
And I personally feel like he's the kind of guy that will like. I wouldn't be surprised if he shook off the injuries that he's been having. It just feels like sometimes you get to a certain point where you just haven't played enough for a while that you can, for whatever, like Smalling is a good example, always injured. Then all of a sudden he wasn't, like, he just got past a certain thing.
Yeah.
Always.
I feel
like Chilwell for me is like that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Chilwell's not in the Chelsea lineup because of injuries. They're moving him on because they think he's not right for the new system. So I hope somebody takes advantage of this. Like
I mean, you guys could use him to back up Shaw as well. Obviously, Shaw's injured half the time as well. Oh, my camera just turned off. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we're done now, anyways. Your camera is telling us what we all know.
Yeah, it's camera just died for some reason, but it's been a pleasure, guys.
We are the North End. This has been the Sunday Roast. If you want to join us one day, shoot us a message. Let us know. Let us know who your team is, who your club is. We'll talk some shit with you. We'll put you on the camera. We'll have a proper chin wag. It's more action to come tomorrow. Keep an eye out. We have some videos coming out for you guys, especially if you guys are Aston Villa fans. JP California is going to drop a video tomorrow morning on his reaction to the game. I'm sure he's going to talk a lot of shit. He usually does. But otherwise, we have been the North End, and we wish you
thanks for watching. Peace.
Sunday, Monday. Peace.
This is the North End.